Totally having a hot flash right now. Hi, how's it going? My name is Mylène and I am Mimimustknit. This is episode number 2 of my podcast. My last one was quite a long time ago. It's New Year's Eve, December 31st, 2019. And I'm off today, so I figured it's a good time for me to podcast. And I won't be going to any parties tonight because I have to work at 6:30 tomorrow morning, so I'll be in bed nice and early. So let's start with some finished objects. If you have been watching my Vlogmas, you'll be familiar with my first item, which is the litmus cowl designed by Amy, the host of the Stranded podcast. I had these minis. It's a Hugh Loco dyed kit, and it's called the Roy G. Biv color kit, I guess. I bought these a little while ago, and I've been trying to find a good project to use them in. So this ended up being kind of the perfect project. It's a little bit loose. I'm not a huge fan of cowls because I like my neck to be covered. That's the whole purpose of wearing something around your neck in the winter. But it works and I like it, and I got a lot of compliments on it. I wore it to work the other day and my friend Connie is like, "Ooh, I love it. Can I have it?" But no, Connie, you can't have it. So this is it. And I used just a leftover, it was a skein of merino, yak, and silk, I think, that I got at my dye camp that I went to a couple years ago. So that is my finished item number 1 from the Vlogmas. Finished item number 2 is the Heartnut socks by Knox Mountain Knit Co. I think I got that right this time. They're made of my hand-dyed yarn. It's not perfect. If you look at this one, you see that there's some tangles. There's a little bit of, well, I guess you can't really see it. There's some imperfections here, but this is essentially a mop-up skein. I had some color left in my dye pot when I dyed some fluorescent skeins for my friend Louise, and this is the end result. So I decided to make myself some socks. I love these. They're really cute. They are a little bit tight, however, which is, I had to really stretch them over the blockers. I knit 64 stitches on 2.25s, and these were 62 plus the cables. So I tried them on the other night when I finished them, and they were a little bit tight to get on. So that's project number 2 that I finished in December. There's probably more, but I'm just showing you guys the ones that I worked on during my Vlogmas. This is project number 3. This is my Cipolla sweater by Caitlin Hunter, and it is made out of my hand-dyed yarn that I dyed at dye camp specifically for this sweater. As you can see, my ends are not woven in. I love the way the sleeves turned out. It was kind of one of those where I was just going and going and going. I was using the really tiny 9-inch circulars for the sleeves, and I realized that I hadn't been keeping track of how far I was going, so I kind of measured them a little bit. I started the color work. I omitted some of these dots here because I didn't want them all the way up the sleeve, so I omitted some of them, and then the sleeve ended up being the perfect length. So I can't wait to get this blocked and be able to wear it. I'm quite pleased with how it turned out. I thought there wouldn't be enough contrast because some of the gray is a little bit, it's uneven, but I think it turned out great. This is a hat I just made for my friend Jessica. She is a police officer that I work with, and she's lovely, and she asked me to make her this hat. She just sent me a picture the other day, and I whipped it up during our night shift before the bottom fell out. So I'll be gifting this to her tomorrow, and it's made of the Lion brand Woolies Thick and Quick, and it was quick. Honestly, I think maybe it took me 4 hours. Let me see if I can get this. It's like a super slouchy hat. I made it a little bit tight because I know it's gonna stretch, but there you go. So, a little present for my friend Jess. The next thing I'm gonna show you is my granny stripe blanket. I think I may have showed it to you guys last time. Oh, and it's in my Finch bucket bag. My Finch bucket bag that I made out of these moths and butterflies and beautiful fabric that I bought years ago. And then just some bottom canvas. And this pattern is a Stitch Mischief pattern. So you can purchase it. There's different sizes. You can put pockets inside. I didn't put pockets inside because I kind of knew that it was going to be for this blanket. But check out this fabric inside. It's like old newsprint, but yellow. Anyways, I love this thing. So this is where I'm at with the blanket. It's getting there. I love it. And then I added some of the pink from the socks, which is hilarious because it's kind of like the only thing you can see, but I quite like it. And I made this magic cake out of one of the Row 1 color clubs that I was purchasing for a little while. I don't get them anymore because I have enough, and I just want to use them up before I buy more stuff. So all of these colors were in this little bag, and it has a little, there's usually little treats in here, candy or a stitch marker. It's really fun. So let's see. This dyer is traveling yarn, and the colors were lovely. Stuck my crochet hook in it because I don't want to lose my crochet hook, but I especially like this color out here. A lot of purples, teals. I love making these magic cakes. They're so fun. And then you just go. I love it. And now for my unfinished objects. So the things I have on the go right now. And we've got my dad's socks. My dad asked me for a pair of house socks maybe last week or the week before. And I'm thrilled because I love making things for the people I love. And this is in my Wielder of Needles bag. I love this bag. And it is by Home Row. She even has like cool business cards. I keep this in my bag just so I can remember who made it. So this is sock number 1. And it's made, I've decided just to use a bunch of leftovers. So I have some undyed yarn for when I feel like dyeing something. So I just held the yarn triple. So I've got 2 strands of the white undyed, and then I just used a strand of contrast in whatever leftovers I had in my bin. And I have a fairly large bin of sock yarn leftovers. And this is, again, leftover yarn from the fluorescent socks. I think these are leftovers from my friend Angie. These are leftovers from my, I called it fruit salad yarn that I dyed, and it kind of looked like fruit salad colors. And this is leftover from my indigo dragonfly yarn. Made some socks out of these. I didn't have very much left of the red because I made super long socks. So that's my unfinished project, or one of. I also have, stand by. These mittens. These mittens I'm making for my friend Joel from work. He's getting married in January, and I brought my Selbu mitten book that I purchased a few weeks ago to work one night just to have a look at it because it came in the mail right before I was going in for a night shift. So I brought it to look, and I think he was probably as enchanted by the stories as I was by the tradition of the sabu mittens. So he asked me to make some for his soon-to-be bride for their wedding. So he picked a snowflake pattern and I just inserted it on the top. And then I found a pattern that just had for the palm, for the number of stitches, the thumb. Isn't that cool? The way it just kind of carries over. And I ended up, for the snowflake, making my own Excel spreadsheet. So check that out. I was gonna try and if it, but I kind of made the cuff and started the hands, and I had the two thumbs in the same place, and it was just not going well. So I decided to just make an Excel spreadsheet and make 1 mitten at a time. I was trying to do them 2 at a time so they would be exactly the same. It wasn't working out. So Excel is my friend. Not so much when it comes to numbers, but definitely when it comes to making charts. I should probably invest in some kind of chart software. I have the pattern that I recently published to my Sears hat, and it had some color work chart in it, and I used Excel. It might be a little bit easier if I had an actual charting software. So I think that's pretty much it. I also have my sweater that I swatched for a lot. Let me find that for you. Out of the yarn I bought in PEI, and I can't wait to start this sweater. It's the Althea sweater by Jennifer Steingass. It's gonna be hard to see here because my printed copy is not awesome, and it's been folded in my bag for a long time. But you get the idea. It's gonna be beautiful. So I can't wait to get that started, but I really wanted to finish those mittens before anything because that's probably the only thing I'm making on a timeline. So I'll get started on the second mitten today. It's just 2:30 p.m. so I have lots of time. I'd like to be in bed early tonight because I'm coming off a weekend of nights and I slept like arse last night. 2:30, I was watching YouTube videos on old English castles and manors and the restoration, and anyways, it was fun, but it was 2:30 before I finally fell asleep. So I need to go to bed early tonight. Other than that, so when my son came home for Christmas, we started watching The Witcher on Netflix. It's amazing. We binge watched, or in 2 days, we finished the whole first season. And then I realized that on Audible, they have all the books, all but one. So my son found it, the first book, on somewhere online, and he sent me the files, and I've been listening to that the last couple of days, and that's what I'm kind of obsessing over. The Witcher. I don't know how I can... They said somewhere that it's kind of taken over for... What's that series? I used to watch it. Game of Thrones. There we go. Kind of lost interest when all my favorite characters died in one of the seasons, and I was like, I don't want to watch this anymore. And so it's kind of comparable, but not really. It's got, monsters and witches and people with powers, and it's just fun. I like stuff like that. So I've been obsessing with The Witcher. What else? Oh, we had kind of an ice storm yesterday. So I came home and the roads were fine when I came home yesterday morning after work. And then I slept till 2 p.m. And when I got up, there was like a sheet of ice on my car. So I canceled all my appointments and had a really nice day at home by myself knitting. That's when I made the whole mitten yesterday. This whole mitten, I'm pretty sure the whole thing I made yesterday. That's literally all I did. Drink coffee, listen to The Witcher, and make this mitten. This is my life. I love it. It makes me happy. But when I woke up this morning, it had snowed. So all the ice made all the branches really heavy, and then you have all this heavy wet snow, and it's kind of enchanting. So I'll try and insert a video here for you guys. All that crackling you hear is the wet snow falling from the trees. So you can just see my view when I wake up in the morning. It's lovely. I love my home. I love being home. I love that I'm not surrounded by people or noise. I fell asleep for a little bit last night and I woke up because I had a bad dream. And it was so quiet. You could have heard a pin drop outside, probably. It was just silence. It was lovely. So, something else, I've been watching this podcast and she spoke about a no-buy year. She did a no-buy year 2019. She's doing a no-buy year for 2020. And I was really, really interested. And she talks about decluttering and getting rid of the things that you don't need. And I've kind of been on that kind of path since my first trip to Uganda, because I saw poverty there like you wouldn't even believe. And when I came home, I cried for weeks and weeks because I had so much guilt at the stuff that we have and the stuff that we take for granted. And I ended up getting rid of probably 75% of my clothes when I came home. And I've been meaning to go through just the rest of my stuff and get rid of things. We have so many things we don't use. I rented out my house for a year and lived on just the things I absolutely needed. I put everything else in storage and I didn't miss any of it. And honestly, a lot of stuff stayed in boxes and Rubbermaid bins when I came home. And I haven't looked at those things in, it's been like 5 years maybe since I've done this, 4 or 5 years. So I need to start getting rid of stuff. So I have some time off coming up in January, and I think that's what I'm gonna do. I've been inspired by this podcast. I think it's the personal philosopher, something philosopher. She's like this really cute, I think she lives in Edinburgh. I just discovered her. I will reference her somewhere, maybe in the down bar. Down here, I'll put the patterns I'm working on too, stuff like that, if people want to go have a look. Either way, I'm inspired to declutter, just make life simpler, have less stuff. I know that sounds a little hokey, and it's not my New Year's resolution. I don't typically make New Year's resolutions. I live my best life every day, and I've been doing it for a while now, and I'm happy. Gonna have to take down the Christmas tree at some point. So I'm gonna be busy in January. Yeah, so I think that's it for today. It's gonna be a short episode, but it's better than nothing. So if you're watching this and you're a maker, go make something. Have a happy new year, and I'll see you soon. I almost forgot to do my woolly check-in. So I'm not wearing a lot of woolies today, but I'm wearing my Rosemont cardigan. It's made out of Knit Picks Wool of the Andes tweed, I think. I'm going to be making another one of these for my sister. She was here for a couple days before Christmas and wore this thing the whole time. So I got some yarn. I'm going to make her one as well. I also, excuse me, had to get these off my feet, have my felted clogs. And this is also on my list of things to make for next year because they've seen better days. I don't even know what this is. It's like sticky, but whatever. Check it out. They need to be, oh, this one's not so bad. I'm not usually hard on my slippers, but these didn't last as long as they could have. But I still wear them until I make new ones. So that's my Willy check-in for today.